Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, more classics. It's my weekly wrap-up. So if you saw my book haul video yesterday, you will know that I teased that I finally got some bookshelves. And I've spent hours yesterday and this morning getting boxes down from the attic, sorting through them. I've ended up with, I think, 4 or 5 bags of books I'm going to unhaul. So I will do an unhaul video at some point for those. Mostly they're duplicates, either of books I've got multiple physical copies of or of books I've also got on my Kindle. I've decided to be quite ruthless, and unless a physical book has got a real emotional attachment, if I've got it on my Kindle as well, I'm getting rid of it because it just seems pointless. I will inevitably read it on my Kindle rather than reading the physical book anyway, because I prefer reading on my Kindle. So it just seems daft to be taking up space with multiple copies of things. So yes, so the shelves are fully stacked now, which is problematic in itself because there's no room for any new books. So I haven't quite figured out yet what I'm going to do. I've got, I think, probably 7 or 8 books in the mail at the moment. So we shall see what I do with those 7 or 8 books when they arrive, whether I can fit them in or not. And I'll do a separate video where I talk about how I've arranged my shelves and things like that. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight them because every time I walk into this room, I smile when I see them. So yes, very happy about those. Anyway, normal format for this video. Now I've got the shelves out of the way, so I'll talk about what I've been reading this week. I'll talk about what I think I'm going to be reading next week, and I'll talk about what's been on the channel. So, as I said at the start, more classics. So, depending on how you count classics. So, I'm not sure that any of these books are a classic in the same way that Moby Dick is a classic. But I think I've read 3 classics this week. So, those 3 were The Plague by Albert Camus, The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, and The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. So let's talk about the detective ones first. So obviously read those for Dictember. I also read The Big Sleep for Shorty September as a 20th century classic, which was one of the prompts. I can't remember what, I think it was Denim Shorts. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed both of those. And what was interesting about them is that they are very, very different in style and tone, completely different. So I found The Big Sleep to be much more intricate, both in its language and in its plotting. Whereas the Maltese Falcon is much, much simpler. You know, it's kind of got this MacGuffin of the Maltese Falcon itself at the centre of it. But the actual story is a lot simpler than The Big Sleep. The Big Sleep is a really complicated story. And I prefer The Big Sleep. But it's slight. I thought that the Maltese Falcon was really exciting. I thought Sam Spade was a really good, central character. It's the first Dashiell Hammett book I've read. Whereas Chandler, I had read The Big Sleep before. But I think the language in The Big Sleep, I prefer, like the hard-boiled dialogue and stuff like that. It's just fantastic. So I think I will do a kind of head-to-head review of the 2 books and share my thoughts with them that way. But I really enjoyed both of them. And thank you very much to Mark at Book Time with Elvis and Sean D. Stoudfast for setting up Dictember. I found it really interesting reading some classic detective fiction. And I read the Chandler, The Big Sleep, I read in this lovely Library of America edition. I think I will continue reading Chandler. So this has also got a load of his pulp stories and Fairwell My Lovely and the High Window. I haven't read any of those, so I think I will next month probably dip into some of the short stories. Aside from that, so the other classic then, I forgot what it was called for a second there. The Plague by Albert Camus, obviously a French 20th century classic about a small town in France which is beset by a plague. Very much seen as an allegory for Nazism, so written published just after the end of the Second World War. I enjoyed it, but it didn't grip me quite as much as maybe I thought it would. I didn't think it was good as the other novel by Camus that I've read, The Stranger. I preferred that. But this was very good. it's just, I think I didn't connect with the characters as much as I expected to. But as an examination of a town, so, you know, almost the town as a character itself, and the, you know, the effects of this disaster on the town, and the way he very cleverly ties that back to, you know, the events in Germany and France of the Second World War, I thought it was brilliantly done. So a very, you know, definitely a very good book and worthy of its status as a classic, but not one that I enjoyed reading as much as I enjoyed The Maltese Falcon or The Big Sleep. Other things I've read this week then, so I also read for Autumn MOAR, this book, which was terrible, Sweet September by Laurien Blair. So this is a Silhouette Desire novel from, I think, let me check when it was published. I'm guessing it's kind of the 80s. Yeah, 1983. This was bad in many ways. So firstly, so it's about a woman who runs a sweet shop who formerly was overweight and now has slimmed down. And it's about her falling in love with this guy who's an architect. You can see them on the cover there. So it's very problematic in terms of its treatment with heavier people. It's some of the language that is used is terrible, and there's a number of scenes where the hero kind of mocks her and belittles her for, you know, the fact that she used to be overweight. There's another scene where another guy comes to her house, and she's got pictures of, like, older pictures of herself up. And he's like just incredibly horrible and mean about the person in the photographs who he doesn't realise is her. So that aspect of it was bad. And also for me, it just didn't work out as a romance. And the hero was just, I know there's this whole, you know, romance trope of enemies to lovers, which this definitely is. But he was just a complete arsehole all the way through. He didn't, you know, even by the end of the book, he was still an arsehole. He was incredibly arrogant, incredibly rude. And I just didn't see what she saw in him at all. This being a Silhouette Desire book, it's a bit steamier than some, so there were some sex scenes in here which were okay. There's one just bizarre and hilarious scene where she's kind of parted ways from the main male character, and is hooked up with this other guy. She's gone on a date with him, and they go back to his house, and he's got a waterbed, and he's also got a huge dog, like a St. Bernard or something like that. And there's a bit where she's on the bed, and the St. Bernard jumps on the bed as well. She gets catapulted off it, which was just a very bizarre sort of slapstick humour in the midst of what, apart from that, wasn't a very funny book at all. So that was definitely my favourite part of the book. But yeah, aside from that, I really didn't enjoy it very much. So I read this for Autumn MOAR. It was sweet or spicy week, so this was my spicy pick. So yeah, I read it, but I didn't really enjoy it. So that's what I have read. I'm currently reading on my Kindle Summerside Lake Massacre by L.R.J. Allen, which again I'm reading for Shorty September. So one of the prompts is rip shorts, and you can read either a murder mystery or a slasher. This actually is a bit of both. I was expecting it to be more of a pure slasher, but there's a nice mystery element running through it as well. So it's kind of got a bit of a giallo feel to it almost. But yeah, I'm about 75% of the way through. I was hoping to finish it before this video, but I spent too long sorting out books, so I didn't manage to. But I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a very enjoyable slasher, and I will do a review of that in the coming week as well. And in terms of the week ahead, it's haves and have-nots week for Autumn MOAR. So you can read books either about very privileged people or underprivileged people. So I did have down to read The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, the second of the Bridgerton books, which I've got on my Kindle. But I think instead I'm going to read this, Appalachian Abduction, which is the second in the Appalachian trilogy by Debbie Herbert. So I talked about Appalachian Prey last week, which I really enjoyed. So I picked up the second and third book. So I think I might read that instead of Bridgerton, or maybe as well as Bridgerton if I have enough time. And then aside from that, I think I'm also going to read the first Elric book for Shorty September. And then in the week ahead, it's haves and have-nots week for Autumn MOAR. So I'm either going to read The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, the second of the Bridgerton books, which I've got on my Kindle, or I talked last week about a book called Appalachian Prey, by Debbie Herbert. I've picked up the second in the series, which is Appalachian Abduction. I really, really like the first one, so I think I might read this instead of the Bridgeton book, or as well as. So Bridgeton as a haves book, and Appalachian Abduction as a have-nots book. And then for Shorty September, I'm going to do the prompt. I can't remember what the prompt was. Was it Runway Fashion Shorts? Anyway, it's a book with a beautiful cover. So I've got this Saga Press edition of the Elric books, which I got a little while ago, which I haven't dipped into yet. So I have read the first novel, Elric of Melnimmon before. I actually read it in February for February Fantasy Stories, but I love the Elric books. So I think I'm going to read. I think I'm going to read this again, the first book anyway. I think this afternoon I shall sit in the garden with a nice cold drink and this beautiful book and read and relax. Now I've done all the hard work of getting my shelves sorted out. So that's what I have been reading and what I'm going to read. In terms of the week ahead and the week just gone on the channel, so over the last few days I've done a book haul video, which had some interesting stuff in it, including a gift, which was very nice. I did a review of Psycho by Robert Bloch, which has a thumbnail and an intro that I had a lot of fun with. I did my review of Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and I did the Travelling with Books tag. And then in the week ahead, so for Sunday Bollocks tomorrow, I'm going to do a response video to Michael K. Vaughan, where I'm going to talk about DNFing. I'm going to do the Rules of Reading tag on Tuesday, I think, that was created by MJ at Reading This Life. I've got this month's box from the Abominable Book Club arrived. When did it arrive? Yesterday, I think, or the day before. No, it arrived on Thursday. So I've done an unboxing for that. So that will go up on Monday. I'm going to do an Ask Criminally on Wednesday. So if you've got any questions, get them in now. You can either email me at criminally@gmail.com or ask in the comments. Just put Ask Criminally at the start, so I know it's a question for the video. And then I'm going to do a review, probably, like I said, a head-to-head review of the Maltese Falcon and the Big Sleep. And then I'm also going to do a review of Summerside Lake Massacre for Small Press Fridays, which I've been neglecting. So I haven't done Small Press Fridays for ages. So I'll do a review of Summerside Lake Massacre on Friday. So as always, thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you've been reading this week. Let me know if you've read any of the books I've talked about. And as always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're really good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.